I remember working with one of them and I just said, I want to help in any way I can. And I started doing things for him. And then he introduced me one time as his producer. And I'm like, I don't know what a producer is. He says, that's what you're doing. And I'm like, I said, I'm kind of being a mom.
Yeah.
Just, seeing what needs to be done and getting it done. And I think a lot of the producer skills are, mom skills or business skills, because I also had my own business.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Your hosts, Geoffrey and Jaclyn Whitt.
Hey, welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast. I'm Jaclyn. Jeff is here with me, and today we've got Peggy Schott with us. And this is her second interview. So if you want to hear about her story of how she got into acting, you got to go back and listen to the previous interview. So we're going to pick up where we left off in the previous one, where we started talking about your volunteer work at the Pregnancy Center and a project that you and I are going to be working on. But first, tell me about the Pregnancy Center. When did that start for you?
Well, a few years ago, we were kind of in between where we were living in Austin and a small town. And we decided during the pandemic that we were ready to leave Austin, make Seguin our permanent home. And I think the most important thing to do in any community or wherever you are is to find ways to serve. And volunteer work is something that's always been very important to us. I was at church one day and a woman got up to speak, and she was speaking about the local pregnancy center. And as a Christian, I've always been pro-life, but a lot of the arguments about it are, but nobody's there to help these women.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's there to help these children. And so when she was speaking, I was like, well, this is it. This is what I can do. I have 3 children. I remember when we found out that I was expecting our first and we wanted to have children. But the moment we found out that I was pregnant, I remember my husband fell over and he said, what should we do?
Oh,
And we wanted children. So to know what a huge commitment this is. And a lot of people just don't understand truly what pregnancy is. And historically, people lived close to their families. They had their mothers, their grandmothers who were there to help and teach them and guide them. So many young women don't have that these days. But the pregnancy center, and there are pregnancy centers across the country who are there just to love and educate and to help young families so that becoming parents is not that difficult, and we give them the tools they need, and everything is free. It's all community funded, no government funding whatsoever, all community funded. And being part of that has just been fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for myself, when I got pregnant, I was 21. And at that time, I was just living with my boyfriend. And so it was not a good situation. And I never considered abortion because I had already learned about it when I was a teenager, and I had already made a decision at that point I would never do it. But I do remember the panic that hit me when I realized I am so not in a good place for this, and so having a pregnancy center, I didn't actually have access to that at the time, and I was able to work things out with my family and I got the help I needed. But that's just so valuable for women to have that support that they can say yes to life and know that they have what they need to be able to do that. Because that panic is just so heavy.
Yeah.
It's such a burden. And so I love anybody that is working in a pregnancy center or supporting it. There is so much value to that because it is a really big deal to become a mom.
It is.
That is huge.
And I think it's even more difficult for young women today because the media and social media is so pro-abortion, and they try to make it sound like it's so simple.
Yeah,
it's so easy.
like it's
you
the
take
easy
the pill and
answer.
poof, your problem is gone. And that is the message that is constantly being sent. And so it is so important for us to get the message out that actually this is natural. This is the way the human female body, this is a natural thing. It's not something to be afraid of. And there are people who will love you and care for you and help you.
Yeah.
And the message just is not getting out there.
Yeah. And also the focus that motherhood, like focusing on the work of it as if like the work is burden. And actually raising children is the favorite part of my life. Like,
yes,
somebody asked me recently, like, if you could go back in time, not to change anything, just to relive it, what would you, I'm like, I'm going to go back and watch my kids grow up again. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yep,
like it's
yep.
just, there's something so amazing about that. And I love that blessing. And of course, the blessing is going to come with a lot of responsibilities. And that's just the way that life works, right? You add to life, you don't take away from it. And so, the more you add to it, the more you're going to be juggling as you go. And I mean, there's beauty in it though. And that's where you have community and family. So here's the thing. When we were in Texas at Content Film Festival, you came up to me and you were like, hey, do you have any shorts? I want to produce something. And so then, I mean, I have so many that my question always, whenever somebody asks me if I have anything, I'm like, okay, tell me what you want and I'll tell you if I have something that fits that. So then as we started talking and you mentioned that you work at the pregnancy center, I was like, I got it. I got one for you. And so I pitched my idea and you were actually tearing up at just me pitching the idea. So I was like,
Yes, I definitely did. I definitely did. I was like, this is perfect. Going to film festivals, the secular film festivals this past year, there were just so many films that I saw that broke my heart that are pro-abortion. And I'm like, we need to get some really good things to touch people's hearts and to make them see the importance of life. And when you told me about this particular film, yes, I've directed only one film so far, but produced a few. And I just feel like God has been telling me, and my husband told me that God has been telling him that this is something we need to do. We need to create content that gives the right message that people need to hear about how valuable life is. Yeah, we're going to do it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
So let's talk a moment about the other projects that you've produced and directed, the transition from acting into producing, for example.
A lot of it was just, I would see young filmmakers whose work I really thought was good. And I remember working with one of them and I just said, I want to help in any way I can. And I started doing things for him. And then he introduced me one time as his producer. And I'm like, I don't know what a producer is. He says, that's what you're doing. And I'm like, I said, I'm kind of being a mom.
Yeah.
Just, seeing what needs to be done and getting it done. And I think a lot of the producer skills are, mom skills or business skills because I also had my own business. But yeah, I don't produce very much. And I'm definitely to the point where I want to focus on, like I said, the positive messages, the messages we need to get out there. And those are the things that I want to produce. And of course, acting's number one for me. But if I can do both,
right.
that'd be good. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I think it's true. Like when you were saying that producing is using a lot of what you learned as a mom, I think, as you mentioned in the first episode, that sometimes starting your career later in life actually works in your benefit because you learned all of these other skills that you can apply to this. I did the same thing. I decided, okay, well, I'm going to parent first and then I'll pursue writing. But it has so enriched my writing and informed my writing because of all of the other experiences that I had before I dove into that as a career. So yeah, I love what you're saying. So which is your favorite? Let's say, I know nobody likes this question, if you could only pick one, but if you could only pick one, which aspect of filmmaking is your favorite?
Oh, well, it'd definitely be acting. Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, and I've thankfully had a few things that I've been able to do this year. In the beginning, I was obsessed and I just wanted to do as much work as I possibly could. And I've definitely relaxed that with the fact that I'm a lot more particular about the types of things that I want to be involved in. And I'm so thankful I've had a few this year. There was a short film, a short documentary that's going to be on PBS, and it deals with the opioid epidemic. It's a doctor who has a different way of treating it. And so I'm proud to be part of that. At ICFF in Orlando, I met some filmmakers there, and they made a feature film called Problem Attic. And I play a teacher in Problem Attic. It's about students who are sent up to the attic of their school, and it turns out to be an escape room.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Students that are sent up to the attic of their school, and the attic is an escape room, and they have to solve biblical mysteries in order to escape and get out. So excited to be part of that. Brett Varvel is in it and Michael Patterson. And so I got to work with them,
Nice.
which was really cool. And then I got to do a voiceover. There's a company that publishes Bibles, and they're doing an audio Bible. And I got to be part of that for the Book of Ruth. I got to be Naomi with the Book of Ruth. And that was I loved it. So I'm thankful for the things and a few other things coming up. So thankful for when I do get the opportunity to work on things that really are meaningful.
And what's your favorite kind of role to play?
I tend to do a lot of dramatic things, and I love it. but comedy. I've had a few different things I've done that are comedic, and I just have a ball with that. So I'm hoping I get more comedy coming soon.
One of the movies we saw you in recently was Hometown Remedy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a comedic role.
That was oh my goodness. Yes. That was a last minute thing that the director of it, I had met her because she plays a role in Vindication. And she had met me on set, and how she saw me in that funny comedic role after the scenes that she and I had together on Vindication, which were very deep, dramatic, depressed scenes. So I was so thankful that she could envision me in that comedy, that I got to go out there and we would shoot a scene and she would say, Peggy, more bubbles, more bubbles. So just to lighten up the character. So I had a good time with that. And we were in Versailles, Kentucky. First time I said it, I mispronounced it.
But, Versailles? I would have.
I did. But in Kentucky, it's Versailles.
Okay.
And just enjoyed being in Kentucky so much. My husband and I are planning a trip back to Kentucky. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've never been to a lot of places in the United States, though, so it's okay. I'll make my way there one day. Ever watched an unsatisfying movie and wondered why it fell flat? The premise was great. The acting was pretty good. But the story itself left you feeling just meh. Don't let those stories be your stories. In my new book titled In the Beginning, Middle, and End, A Screenwriter's Observations of Life, Character, and God, I venture into developing and writing deep characters and satisfying storylines. But not only do I explain writing techniques in an entertaining way, sharing scenes from my own screenplays, but I parallel storytelling to life itself. Discover how to be the hero in your own hero's journey, how to engage with your author, and how to recognize when he's guiding the plot points of your life. In the Beginning, Middle, and End, A Screenwriter's Observations of Life, Character, and God by Jaclyn Whitt. Available now on Amazon. Link in the show notes. What else have you been involved in lately?
Well, I am really excited. I started in musical theater when I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, and all through high school. And I loved that, but I have not done live theater in years because I was focusing on TV and film. But the small town that we're living in now, I'm so excited. I'm going to be in the musical version of A Christmas Carol.
Yay!
So we start rehearsals next week, and I'm so thankful to get a chance to sing again because I have not done that in a while.
And of course, that has a whole community aspect to it as well.
It absolutely does. And that's something, trying to get more involved in the acting community in our small town and promote that. My husband and I started hosting a script reading group, and we try to get together. Well, we try once a month where we pick script and just get all the local actors together and trying to get more live theater going on in our town.
Very nice. All right, so let's get into some advice for actors. We like to give an opportunity for our guests to share some advice for our listeners. What are some things that you would be able to recommend? It could be like from any aspect of the journey, your heart, your knowledge. What do you got?
I guess, number one, you're never too old to pursue your dreams, but also to use God's gifts to serve and to help spread His word. If that is how you feel called, then yes. And if you have opportunities, always be aware of opening doors. When things pop up and you think, I can't do that, or it's not something I want to do, pay close attention because God could be giving you an opportunity and He needs you. Do it. The rewards will be very strong. There was a video I saw recently of a Christian musician, and he said, people always ask him, when did you know that it was God's will for your life to be a musician? And he says, well, it's not God's will for my life. God's will for my life is to have joy, to be thankful, and to pray. And if I get to make music to serve Him, amen. So if I get to act to serve Him, amen. But most importantly in my life, I need to find the joy, spread the joy, always be thankful, and always pray.
Beautiful. So what else has been beneficial for your journey as an actress?
Very, very important is to get into classes. Find a good acting coach. Also realize that there are many different styles of acting teaching. And, there's some people who think Meisner is the absolute best. Some people think that method is the best. But really, you need to find what works for you. I've worked with several different teachers, lots of different teachers and acting coaches and Zoom classes. And I don't use one particular method. Some people do. I pick and choose for what works for me. I will say, we talked about the fact that I started later in life. And I've been in classes with young actors. And I see the coach trying to help them to feel a certain emotion because they've never experienced it in real life. And I think that is a benefit that I have starting later. I'll be like, oh yeah, I know what that feels like. If you learn from Tina Gallo, she has a wonderful school of method acting, and it's not really what a lot of people associate method acting with, but just being able to use the feelings. I don't use association where I had a director once in an audition say, oh, well, you just imagine that your son is dying. I'm like, nope, don't need to go there. That's not going to happen with me. But I can feel an emotion that's similar to that to get me there. So acting classes, find what works for you. There's so much out there right now. Online podcasts like this one,
Right.
Absolutely fantastic.
Well,
I listen to
you
you guys when I'm driving in the car, when I'm out for walks.
Awesome.
And I feel like there were so many filmmakers that I know them now.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't even met them, but I know them because I met them through you all. So thank you
Oh,
for
awesome.
that. Kirk Waller has an excellent online thing where he interviews different people in the industry. And, that's not much of a commitment, not much money. And then going to festivals. There's so many good Christian festivals. I had done a lot of secular festivals for years. What a difference going to a Christian festival. Everyone is there to help each other. And you meet people and you pray together, which means a whole lot.
Yeah, it's almost like a reunion at the same time,
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So if you can make it to some of the Christian festivals, I highly recommend doing that too. Beverly Holloway has her Tuesday night on Facebook Live. There's so much good advice and information out there.
Yeah, it sounds like staying involved in the community and continuing to further your education and just being hungry to grow sounds like that's kind of your attitude in the process of how you're pursuing it all.
Yes.
So what is the last piece of advice that you would like to share with our listeners?
If you ever have an opportunity to volunteer, to be on a set, to be a production assistant, just to be there, to see how things work, God put us here to serve. We serve others in so many ways. And if you can serve on a set, it can help you to learn. It's tough to create things in this business. It costs money.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you're able to volunteer to be on a set, it's beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that because that's something actually I was speaking with someone else just yesterday, and we were talking about how we might have a specific goal of what we particularly want to do. And it seems like God has put us in this other thing right now. And so we were kind of saying like, okay, so if I want what God wants and he wants me here, well, then that means I have to change what I want because I want what he wants. And I don't want to waste this season wishing it was a different season. Like I can't look outside at my tree and be upset that there's not fruit yet because it hasn't come to the season yet. And so I think sometimes, when you find that work that you feel like, what, I should be here. And it may not benefit you in the worldly way, but it is serving, like you said, and having a season where you're serving, God can do amazing things in you, through you, with you. Like I have seen some of the most incredible stories unfold, like testimonies, just because I've pursued to volunteer for God, where I'm like, where do you want me? Okay. And I go do this. And I'm expecting God's going to take care of the details. And that's where you get some really amazing testimonies and moments that just carry you through the rough times in life.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you, Peggy. It's been really great having you today and spending more time talking with you, hearing about Vindication. We're all
very
waiting.
Excited. Yes.
Jaclyn and I are big fans.
It's been really great getting to know you. I've already kind of gotten to know you in other opportunities, but I love being able to just sit down and have you like face to face. I mean, it's computer, but I have your full attention right now. So it's really nice to be able to just dive in and really get to know you.
Well, I appreciate you all having me so much. Really, this has been wonderful. And speaking of getting to know you, I will say I really appreciated when y'all did an episode where we got to know you too.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on our podcast, and we hope to have you back sometime.
Thank you, and God bless.
You too.
Take care. Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you would like email reminders about newly released episodes and more, please sign up at faffpodcast.com/email. That's faffpodcast.com/email. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.
That's a wrap.